Here on time. Hallelujah. So welcome. So we're going to do some introductions when you do your check-in. And what we're going to do is check in as a tree with a tree that is speaking to you at this point in time. Okay. So I'm gonna check in as a burning bush because I feel like I'm burning. But here in the mountains, they turn this extreme red. It's maroon. It's not even maroon. It's like a pink red, and they're incredible. So okay, all right, Sandy, what tree are you tonight? And I'm from Asheville, Sandra.
Okay.
Sandy, can you hear us? Well, we might move to the next person and then we'll come back. Okay, Mary, what tree are you tonight?
I think I'm going to say a maple tree. Because I just think they're beautiful, and sometimes there are some that let you sit under them, and I'm from New Jersey.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. And Chelsea, what about you? What tree are you?
I guess I'm going to give the thing that popped into my head was actually an aspen. And I think it's because I was recently learning with my son about giant trees, and it's the
This
giant
meeting is being recorded.
There's the largest biomass or organism is actually an ash tree, and they're all connected. So that's where that came from. I am actually outside of Asheville as well, in Barnardsville, North Carolina.
Okay. Thank you, Chelsea. And Stella, what about you? What tree are you this fall?
I think I'll be a weeping willow. I like weeping willows, but they can be very intrusive. And I had to cut mine down. So I no longer have it. I just had a stump. And I'm in Maryland, Columbia, Maryland, which is supposedly the safest place in America to live.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
So they say.
Okay. All right. That's totally awesome. And all right. Thank you. And Marcia, what are you? What tree are you checking in as?
Well, excuse me. I'm going to say the mighty pine. We have this huge pine tree, seriously, like 5 stories high. I can see outside my window right now. And it's just magnificent. And it's kind of my inspiration as I sit here every day and study. And I am in Wyoming.
Awesome. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you. And Sue, how are you? We're checking in as a tree. You're muted, Sue.
There. Well, I was going to say pine as well, but specifically Torrey pine, which only grows in certain areas of California. And I found out today in a class I was in that the pine tree is the oldest tree in the world, as far as it's about 5,000 years, as opposed to the sequoia and the redwood are about 3,500. So I thought it would be the other way around. So I'm not quite that old, but I'm still here. And I live in California.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. And Mark, what about you?
I am an oak tree, and it's only because as I've aged, I've realized I am very allergic to oak leaves. It's kind of funny, spring and fall when oaks are around. So it's an adverse relationship.
Thank you.
And I'm in Nashville as well. I'm sorry.
And well, yeah, Asheville. Okay, thank you. And Anne Maria, Can you check in as it we're checking in as a tree?
Let me see.
Anne Maria, you're muted.
I would say maple, because we have so much of that here in New York. So it would be a maple tree for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Sandy, what about you? We're checking in as a tree.
I was just muted before. I couldn't get myself unmuted. I just like an oak tree. They're a little different here in the South. There's behind me, there's a 1/3 acre of woods that's permanent there. And it just, so I get to look at those, but they're still green because we haven't had the hard freeze yet. But I like, I've always liked an oak tree.
Well,
Just
good.
strong and all that.
And tell Sandra where you're from, Sandy.
Oh, I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Great. Can we see your face during our time together?
Oh, I don't have my hair fixed.
Sandy has a very marginal broadband, and sometimes even her audio breaks up. So I think
Okay.
she's learned.
Yeah, because I have to use the portable one because my work one is set up on the other.
Well, we're glad to hear you anyway. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Monique. We're checking in as a tree tonight.
Oh, checking in as a tree. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Let's see. Hey, well, I would be an oak tree. Yeah, I would choose an oak tree because it's very sturdy and they grow very old. They have a long life, and they provide a lot of shade. So that's why I
good.
would do an oak tree.
Thank you. Will you tell Sandra where you're from?
Oh, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky originally, but I live in Houston, Texas. I've been in Houston for over 21 years.
Great.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Sandra, you want to tell us what you're checking in as, what tree you're checking in, and where you're from? Oh, wait, Kelly, wait, oops. Let me do Kelly first. Okay, Kelly, didn't mean to leave you out.
Sorry. Stella got mine a weeping willow too, because it's intrusive. And I did plant one, but like 2 weeks later, my husband ran over it with a lawnmower. So I don't have one. But people have been really intrusive at work with telling me not to do things that are not ethically right or every day.
And where do
And
you
I'm from
live?
Smith Station, Alabama.
Thank
And
you,
Mark,
ma'am.
I got a ton of oak trees in my yard. Didn't live here. Close to Columbus, Georgia.
Thank you, Kelly. And Sandra, what about you?
I live in the Asheville, North Carolina area, and my tree would be a hickory tree, which I have plenty of on my property, and they bend. They're very good to bend. So they rarely uproot or break, thank goodness. And I'm glad
Awesome.
to be here with you all. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'm going to introduce Sandra to you, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. So she doesn't know I'm doing this, but I'm going to have you guys take a look at her website because it's pretty darn fun and beautiful, and just fun to see a lot of different websites. So here is Sandra's website. So Sandra is a very esteemed certified Enneagram consultant, and she has done a tremendous amount of practicums, lectures, individual work, organizational work, and we are delighted to have her here. So she's a certified narrative tradition teacher, and she's an Enneagram consultant with the International Enneagram Association. She's accredited as a spiritual companion. She teaches throughout North America, and she has organized and taught East Coast Enneagram Professional Training Program, founded by Helen Palmer and David Daniels. She might tell you a little bit about them later. And she's been teaching this Enneagram system since 2001. So she's been teaching this work for 21 years. And a lot of people call Sandra for assistance, not only in terms of understanding their own selves and their own ego in terms of what the Enneagram is, but people call her to talk about themselves and their partner, or themselves and their sisters or brothers, and themselves and their organizations. She got a BS in business from Wake Forest University and a master's in divinity from Candler School of Theology and Emory University. And she was certified in nonprofit management through Duke University. And she's a trained mediator, and she spent 17 years in the corporate world and 14 years directing a nonprofit. And now she has a wonderful podcast, Heart of the Enneagram, and explores all 9 dimensions of the personality types, which you were going to hear about. And it's been downloaded, yikes, 300,000 times. So I think, Sandra, is there anything else that you would like to say about yourself?
That's a good wrap up, Karen. Thank you. That's plenty.
Okay, thank you. We're glad to have you, Sandra.
Thanks for inviting me, Karen. Yeah. So thank you for showing up tonight. I have a lot of information, and I'm going to go pretty quickly, and I'm interruptible. Okay, so just know that. What percentage of you is here right now? How present are you? Just check in with your body. Are you breathing? Where's breath in your body? Do you have a felt sense of you? Can you feel your body in the chair? Feet on the floor? You see, the more available I am to myself, the more available I am to you. So in this work of patient advocacy, your work will not be effective unless you're present with you. And so to develop some presence practices, so you know how you are experiencing you right now, helps us then see and hear the other more clearly. There will be no effective communication or no conflict resolved unless we're present, okay? All right, I have a few slides to show, and we're gonna get in some breakout rooms pretty quickly. If you wanna take a picture of this, you're welcome to do that. It's just some resources on the Enneagram that I would recommend to you. I can pull this back up again, and we can talk more about it at the end. So just know that in medieval English, the word presence means sacred gift. And to meet everyone and everything through stillness instead of mental noise is an amazing gift we offer. If we want to deepen self-awareness, if we want to deepen our inner awareness, it starts with presence. Because without presence, I can't hook into this inner witness. Do you know what it's like to watch yourself? You ever just catch yourself in the midst of something and think, oh, I better not go down that same street. That got me in trouble last time. So we know there's an inner witness in here. And when we get in touch with that, we see ourselves before we speak or do something, and we can decide to go another way. So it's why I work with the Enneagram, friends. It's a move from automatic to authentic. If I'm going to be in lockstep with my ego structures patterns, I'm going to miss my life. I'll die small. So this short, brief introduction to the Enneagram will give you some keys, some hints about ways you could go on automatic, not living fully, And the work with the system is counter instinctive because patterns are kind of reptilian brain, they're instinctive. And they're neuro pathways well worn now. And so once we get in touch with this inner witness, we can notice where we're placing our attention and we can shift it, okay? And so much of this is finding a pause so that we can stop automatic and live more authentically, all right? That's what this is about. So my question, I have a couple questions for you all right now. The first is, at this point in your life, where would you say is your greatest invitation to grow professionally? And then I'd like you to name 2 predominant ways that fear moves you in this new line of work that you're engaging, this patient advocacy. How does fear move you? And, you know, just as a reminder that when we feel fear, it's really an invitation for us to go deeper. What's this fear about? Where is it coming from? What does it want to say? Okay. So the questions again, at this point in your life, where's your greatest invitation to grow in this work that you're now engaging? And then, what are 2 ways that fear moves you in this new work that you're engaging? Okay, we're going to get with a conversation partner for just a couple minutes. And I'm noticing that I don't have breakout room ability here. So Mark or Karen, if you'll
I could do it.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll do maybe 3, 6, 9, 12, 5 rooms, 2 people in each perhaps. And I'll see you in 3 minutes. Okay, this is random, so I don't know who you're going to be with.
All right, so let me do.
Just respond to the questions that were on the slides.
All right, so here we go. I think I goofed up.
Well, we can move them around, Karen. I did not enter breakout room 2, so that person needs somebody. If there's
I think
3.
what I did is I did 2 groups instead of 6, and so there's 5 or 6 people in each room. So I'm going to bring them back. I'm going to close them and bring them back. Would you like that?
No, just leave them, and we'll leave them there a little longer. Now, is someone in the Zoom user room?
Zoom user room.
That's right in front of us, that Golden Gate Bridge.
That is Anne Maria signed in twice.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so we're really missing Stella and Melody, is that right?
No, they all signed in.
Melody? I didn't see Melody. Okay.
Melody, oh, you're right. Melody didn't show up. You're right. Absent, she is.
Okay. And Stella's with us, is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So does each room have 8 people in it?
Yeah, each room should probably have about five in there. Let's see, because you and me and Mark are, Mm-hmm.
Or 4.
Okay.
Do you know, is it 4 or 5? That's going to determine how many minutes I let this go.
Okay, let's see what this is. So breakout room 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and breakout 2 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Perfect.
And
I'll send them a broadcast message that they're in 2 groups of 5 and they'll have a little bit more time. So how many minutes are you going to keep them there? And I'll tell them each person has to share.
Yeah, just broadcast that we'll be together for 4 minutes.
Okay.
Since they've already been in there a minute. Each person gets 1 minute to share.
Your rooms have 5 people each. Each person
Mark, how have you been?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm loving this cooler weather.
Yeah,
I grew up in Vermont, so I am one to enjoy leaf color and cooler temperatures.
yeah. Well, you got it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I built my first fire today in the wood stove.
Oh, did you?
Nice.
Yeah, nice and cozy in my house right now.
We sure do love, we love those. We do.
Yeah.
Mark, how was work today?
It was kind of quiet today. The state is doing a password reset with all of the NC Works offices, and it didn't go as well as I had hoped. So there was a little bit of anxiety there.
Password reset. Yeah, that kind of drives people insane. Can, you know. So did they have warning it was going to happen, or did it just happen?
It happens every 90 days,
Okay.
so supposed to, but I have 3 computers at my desk, and that's one computer I don't stay on top of. So I was one of the ones a little bit behind.
Okay. Okay.
So we're recording this right now. Is that what you wanted to do? Or do you want to pause it?
Here comes Melody. Yeah, did you, I don't think you started it, did you, Mark? I don't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see Melody.
This
meeting is being recorded.
It's like there's an echo.
Sorry.
So continue to think about those questions, and I'm going to continue on. We may come back to them. So here's another question, and I think it might get at some fear. This has us doing some real good excavation in our inner life. But the question is, when judging yourself or another, what is it you're resisting experiencing? That's a big question. And of course, we all have a bit of judging mind. And so when you find yourself judging either yourself or another person, what do you think you don't want to experience in that moment? It's a very big question.
Are you saying that's why we judge then? Because we're resisting something that we don't want to experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I might judge someone if I feel insecure about not knowing how to do something or what the answer is, so that I don't feel vulnerable. I'm resisting feeling vulnerable there. And so it's just a question to really work with. And so when we judge, that's an invitation to look inward and see where fear is. What is it we're fearing? Why not go curious rather than judgmental, right? Okay, any question about that? Okay, write that question down if you like. Let's talk about the Enneagram system a bit. And I want to see you, so I'm going to take this slide off and just tell you about it. But just know that the Enneagram ethical use of this system is to cultivate and sustain our curiosity and to deepen our compassion for ourselves and others. So if we're not using the Enneagram for curiosity and compassion, we're probably misusing it. So know this, Ennea is Greek for 9. It's a system that is a map of our ego structure's automatic patterns. That's a big deal. This system is not about behavior. That would be Myers-Briggs or DISC or predictive index. This tells you what's beneath or what's driving your behavior, where you place your attention, what your motivation is, what your core fears are. We're going to go into that briefly tonight. So it's a system that shows us what our preferences are. It's not predictive. but it shows us what our preferences are. And it really is a map of our ego structure's automatic patterns. People, when we're born, and those of you who are parents of more than one child, you know that we don't come into the world as a blank slate. So some of that ego structure or Enneagram type is in place, like your nervous system wiring. Some of us are assert, some of us are pull back or withdrawing, and some of us are free. So we're going to look at that by Enneagram type. Because this is about your ego structure, it doesn't change. So once we're 5, 6 years old, it's set. We have our Enneagram type, and we will have it throughout our lives. What will change is behavior. And if I can use this map to see how it's shaping and driving my behavior, I've got a much better chance at shifting behavior. Now, behaviors are shaped by culture, socioeconomics, family systems, and family systems is a player in shaping our personality as well. But just because Kelly, Stella, and Karen all lead with type 7, and I say lead with because we're not our type, it doesn't mean they're going to behave the same way. Each of them is a unique expression of their Enneagram type. So please know this is not a cookie cutter system. You can't say, oh, Mark leads with 4. I know about Mark. I know what he's going to do. We don't. We humans are full of mystery. So we don't close the book on ourselves just because we know our type or someone else's type. Okay. So it's a system that is created early on in our lives. We don't change types. No type is better or worse than another type. And the Enneagram is a map of our ego structure's automatic patterns. So it's pretty complex and quite powerful. Okay. Want to pause and just see if there are any questions about what I just offered you. Does that make sense? Thumbs up or shake your head or, all right, here we go. All right, then. Here's some more slides, sisters, brothers. So that I just went over. So here's the deal. Our Enneagram type is what shows up when we don't. So when I'm present, you get Sandra. If I'm not present, you get Enneagram type 8 patterns. All right. So the whole business hinges on how present you are, which is why I started with presence. If you can do anything that enriches your life, it is to develop greater capacity to be present much more of the time. That is especially important in the work that you're engaging in advocacy. So I want you to think of the Enneagram as a set of keys. It's not a system that boxes you in. Oh, you're a 7 or you're an 8 or you're a 9. It actually reveals the box you're already in, which is that ego structure. It's identifying it. So we're going to give you some keys to kind of unlock and liberate yourself from the patterns. I love this Hafiz poem. The small one builds cages for everyone he knows, while the sage who has to duck his head when the moon is low drops keys all night long for the beautiful rowdy prisoners. And so let's find some keys and unlock these patterns so that we aren't limiting ourselves. That's the deal. We don't want to limit ourselves. Okay. Think of this as an internal diversity system. All right. And here you are. Here you are. This is the group. And you all may know this. I don't know. But in this group, you have 3 7s, 2 8s, 3 9s, 2 1s, 1 2, and 1 4. Now, you have this as a handout. I believe Karen sent this handout to you last night. This is a huge handout. It gives you a ton of information. 3 things that you want to know about yourself given that you lead with the type that you've indicated to us. One of the keys, it tells you where you first place your attention. So Marcia and Sue and Sandy are going to place their attention as people who lead with type 9 on others' agendas. And they're doing that because they're just anticipating conflict and they're trying to maintain harmony. And so what goes into the background for those three women is their own agenda. And so the focus is on others' agenda, others' priorities, all right? Whereas for Chelsea and Anne-Marie, it's on disorder or error. And so the two of you can easily spot a mistake. And you see the first placement of attention is in bold by every type, and the motivation is in italics. And so ones, they kind of live to reform and improve, and you can see how that focus of attention and the motivation just fit hand in glove, right? And for Mary, it's about others' needs, because twos like to be affirmed by people. And so she's focused on others' needs, and her own needs go into the background. For eights, for Monique and Melody, it's looking to see what's out of control. We eights can see the weeds in the garden before we see the okra or the flowers. And it's about not wanting to be vulnerable or fearing that someone will unfairly control us. And then for Kelly and Stella and Karen, it's best case thinking. And so they are looking to be stimulated. What's new? What can I learn? What's the new adventure? And then for Mark as a 4, Mark is focused on what's missing. And so he can see, who didn't donate, or where's the shrimp on the buffet, or, all of these are perspectives, friends. And you have this as a handout. So what we want to do, knowing this is where you're going to place your attention, this is the water we swim in. I didn't know this until I started learning the Enneagram. So we want to expand the scan. So if you're a 7 looking at best case, also consider the opposite, which is, what are the difficulties that may go wrong, especially in the work you're engaging, Stella and Kelly. And for Sandy and Sue and Marcia, you're going to overwork and lose your workplace boundaries if you continue to focus on others' agendas. You've got to know what you need and what your priorities are. And that's a blind spot. And for Anne-Marie and Chelsea, just looking to see what's working well and doesn't need to be improved. And Mary, to think about your own needs, okay? And then for Monique and Melody as 8s, it would be, what's working perfectly well and doesn't need me to direct it. 8s love to direct. And truth to tell, nobody really needs our direction. We think they do. So another place that I want you to look and use this handout. Well, let me just say one more thing. Your clients will be one of these types. And so as you continue to work with people, you can listen for someone who is focused on what's missing or what's not right, or who's reframing to the positive. That can be helpful in your relationship with clients and colleagues. The other key that this handout is offering us is in the ego ideal. So within us, our ego structure wants us to believe that we are peaceful and loving if I'm a 9, strong and impactful if I'm an 8. But the ego wants us to think that's all of who we are. And if we take a step away from that, if Chelsea and Anne-Marie take a step away from I am responsible and good, the ego structure does all it can to whip them back into believing in that small self. And here's how it does it. Who are you beyond being responsible and good? I might ask you too, Chelsea and Anne-Marie. A lot of ones have responded by saying, well, I don't want to be irresponsible and lazy. So we go to the opposite. 9s might say, Well, I'm peaceful and loving. Who are you beyond that? Well, I don't want to be confrontational. That's the ego scaring us into staying in this small self. Who are you beyond being helpful and connected, Mary, as a type 2? Would you write something down? Who are you beyond that ego ideal? And then I'm just going to go around the Zoom room and hear what you had to say. Who are you beyond that statement? And I'm asking you, don't go in the opposite direction, right? The ego is going to send you in the opposite direction. Stay in middle ground. Who are you if you're not peaceful and loving? Sandy and Sue and Marcia. Who are you if you aren't different or unique, Mark? Right? Everybody understand the question? So you have that as a handout. And let's hear who you think you are beyond that. In addition to that, you'll never lose that part of you. You were hardwired into that ego ideal, but if that's all you believe you are, you will die small, as will I. Anybody want to go have a thought? You want to name something? Just unmute and have at it.
I can. Right away, what came into my mind was I am loving and kind and compassionate.
Great, Chelsea. Excellent. Yes, you are. Yeah. And you can be playful and fun. It's not all responsibility and being good. Yeah. Who else?
It's Monique. I'm sorry.
Anne-Marie? Anybody?
Okay, this is Monique. I would say I am selfless, funny, and carefree, which are areas that not everybody gets to see all of the time. Because like you said, I'm always wanting to be in control and fix things and things like that. But yeah, those that are close to me, they see that part.
Yeah. Eights do a lot for others. We can be even, Monique, we can be self-forgetting, which isn't really that good, but yeah, generous hearts. Thank you. Who else? Kelly.
Caring, compassionate, and empathetic.
Yes, thank you. Mary, how about you? Then Susie.
For me, when somebody asks me, who are you beyond whatever in this physical form, the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
So that's not the question. It's your ego ideal. And so for you, it's going to be, I'm helpful and I connect well with people. So it's who are you beyond that? What if
I wrote, I am loving, I am strong, I'm, and what Chelsea said, I'm caring and I'm compassionate.
That's right. And I might add for all of you, if you look at your motivation, who are you if nothing needs to be improved, if you're a 1? Who are you if harmony were a given, if you lead with 9? Right? Who are you if no one needs helping, Mary? Those questions grow us beyond this. Okay. Melody, how about you?
I'm strong and impactful, but I'm also carefree and laughing and happy, and I love to educate.
There's a lot of delight in your life. Susie?
I am strong, persevering, and determined.
Yeah. Stella?
What that says about me is true, but I also think I'm a person that requires balance, and I guess also caring and capable of being detached.
Well, 5, 6, and 7 have a detached energy because you spend a lot of time in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so in your work, in this line of work, head types 5, 6, and 7 can give too much information or be too involved in information. And so make sure you keep the heart connection. Yeah. Thank you for naming that. You're spot on. Thank you. Marcia?
I'm in the middle of a growth period right now, so I'm not always sure from day to day what I am, but I would say responsible and good and helpful and connected.
Yes. And so for type 9, one of the difficulties for 9s and 2s is to say no and to set good boundaries. So 9s and 2s tend to say yes a lot, when really you need to be aware of that and learn to say the gentle no. Yeah. Where are you in Wyoming?
Way up north in Buffalo.
Okay, great. Beautiful country.
It is beautiful country.
Sandy?
Well, you're right. I have a lot of trouble saying no. And the biggest thing that I have is I'm responding to things I see coming. For patients, for my household, for my husband. I've gotten better, but yeah, under stress, I'm really doing that.
Yeah. And to really learn to shift your focus to you more. Thank you. Kelly, you've named? Is everybody named Anne Maria? Anne Maria?
I find myself, even though I'm reinforced and improving, I find myself caring, but yet analytical in doing things.
Thank you. Yeah. Type 1 is a pretty thoughtful and evaluative person because ones want to get it right. They strive to do things right and be good. And for the two of you as ones, Chelsea and Anne Marie, it's just really important to start practicing good enough, and that can be hard for our beloved ones. Yeah. Okay. Any question about this handout? Does it make sense to you all? If you have a question, go ahead and unmute and ask it.
Do you think some of this enneagram has to do with our birth signs?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, oftentimes we see a lot of type 1 as the first child, oldest child, but that's not always true. The Enneagram is more like math. It's just kind of universal and neutral. That's a very good question. Thank you. And Myers-Briggs is a whole different point of departure because that's about behavior. And this one is not about behavior. Yeah. So keep in mind that what we look for, we're going to find. So Monique and Melody will find what's out of control. Mary will find people who have needs. What we look for, we find. And so what you can do is look for something else. And so for the last year, I've been looking at all the ways I get carried. Because 1s, 3s, and 8s, effort, we over effort, we're focused on task, 1s and 8s, you all are no 3s in the room. And so we over effort. And if you can look for ways you get carried, you can relax that efforting a bit. Maybe tonight, wherever you are, look for things that delight you. You'll find them. You'll find them, okay? All right, I'm going to move on. All right. And then we're going to take a little break. But a couple more questions for you all to add to your list of questions. Each of you now knows from your type where your focus of attention goes. There's a lot of gift in that placement of attention. And so how do you find it to be a strength in your patient advocacy work? Also, how does it hinder you in that work? How does it hinder you? Those are big questions. And now that you're getting a clue about how that ego structure operates, you can start making some shifts. Okay, you have another handout called the 3 Centers of Intelligence. We have 3 brains, one in the head, one in the heart, and one in the body. And as Stella was talking, she mentioned detached. So the 5, 6, and 7 are information oriented, and they have a lot of energy in the head. Their first way of knowing is logic and reason and analysis. And so they're up here, and they can seem detached. And head types go, excuse me, go into the future a lot. So the 3 of you who lead with 7, Kelly and Stella and Karen, what helps you return to present moment rather than future tripping? Because in the future, anxiety could come up and fear. But what helps you return to present moment? And then we have a brain in the heart. And that's Mark and Mary. 2, 3, 4 are the heart types, and they know first through mood, tone, and feeling. They have an emotional intuition about people. They can pick up on the emotion in the room or with another person. And so they are relational oriented. And the questions for you all is, when do you over-engage? Or when do you perform yourself rather than being yourselves? And what tells you in your body whether you're performing or authentic? What tells you in your body, head types, if you're present or in the future? And then for body types 8, 9, and 1, of which you all have a good many folk, we know first through gut instinct and physical sensations. And those types are fairness oriented. And so we're scanning, whether we realize it or not, for what's fair or unfair. And that can rob us of our joy, actually. And so just notice, gut instinct can be really right or really wrong. So it's always good for us when we feel certain to ask ourselves questions. And then these 3 types are self-forgetting. I mentioned that to Monique a while ago. So those of you who lead with 8, 9, and 1, just consider ways that you remember yourself. We can forget the body quite easily and not even know how tired we are. And so it's important to see how you remember yourself and to develop more of those ways. Okay, I'm going to pause, ask any question you want before we take a break.
Sandra, this is Mary. Bringing this up, I'm realizing, well, I've been realizing, I call it codependent behavior.
Okay.
I noticed lately that I worry too much about my coworkers and what's going on. And I see how their energy is depleted, everyone's miserable, morale is low, and I'm reacting to that. It's like I want to fix it. And I'm realizing I have got to stop that.
Good.
I've got to stop that.
So you have a focus on others' needs. It's pretty strong right now, it sounds like. And so you might ask the question, when you move to go help or fix it, am I doing that because they have a need for me to and have asked me, or is this out of my need to help to get affirmation? And also, Mary, to really consider what your needs are. And that's a blind spot for type 2. what are your needs in this? And it may be that the best thing you can do for your team is model good self-care. Yep. Stay in your lane, care for you, and attend to your own needs. That's hard for type 2, but you'll burn out if you don't. Right?
Yeah, I've been feeling it. I've been feeling it like depression is knocking on my door, and I'm trying to write a very simple paper, nothing major, and I'm feeling blocked because of it. And, well, yeah.
Sending hugs and loves, Mary.
Thank you.
Are some types, would they be considered maybe more empathic than others? Because hearing Mary can be concerned about her, I would think maybe, and I may be reading more than is there, but she sounds like she's kind of trying to feel and hook into some of her coworkers, and I think that makes a lot of us tired.
Susie, that's a really good point. And so, you know, for Mary as a 2, 2s are very sensitive to other people. And as a heart type, Mary and Mark, they can pick up on the emotions of others. And be careful you don't carry those around with you. Just shake them off. That's true for body types as well. Body types will merge with people. We need to shake that energy off or it will bring us down, right? Mm-hmm. So typically type 4 and type 9 rate high in empathy. Now, that's a little different than compassion. And my guess is each of you in this Zoom room are compassionate folks, or you wouldn't be engaged in this work. Yeah, but it's a balance of what are my needs and what are your needs? How do I attend to me first so that I can be helpful to you? You know, put your own oxygen mask on first. Otherwise, there's a burnout. And so, Mary, I would highly recommend some solitude for you. Take a day apart. Don't get on the phone or computer. 9s, you also need time alone. Yeah, okay. Did I answer that, Sue? Okay, any other questions or thoughts?
My thought with her about being burned out. Sometimes you have to step back and get out of that circle that you're in. So like if you're doing med surg and you can't deal with it, go to a different field, you know, to try to get out of that feeling like I'm doing too much, I'm compensating too much. And I'm taking everybody else's problems on myself, which will burn you out.
Well, and the problem, Chelsea, is that no matter where we go, there we are. And so if I don't work on my inner landscape, whether I leave the field and go to someplace else, those patterns are going to just follow me around. And that's why the Enneagram is so useful. It's giving us a pretty clear picture of those patterns. Yeah.
And Sandra, I wanted to say it's very interesting listening to you because as a 7, I do find myself saying, what if this, living in the future a lot more than being in the present, because I'm already planning months ahead. Well, if this happens, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to plan for this, you know, and it's just normal for me.
I know.
To be doing that. It's just so funny. But, you know, I don't know what brings me back to the present. I don't know, but I'm always thinking ahead, always.
Yeah. So let me just put some things out there for those of you who lead with head intelligence. For that group, there's a fear of being seen as incompetent. And so you want to run ahead to make sure you're prepared and that you're competent, right? Head types love to solve problems. Mm-hmm. For body types, there's a fear of being unimportant. And so 8s, 9s, and 1s can get reactive or sensitive if you're dismissed or ignored. And you'll see it even when it's not there, right? And then for Mark and Mary as heart types, there's a sensitivity to being unlovable. And so you're looking for worth in the eyes of others when worth is not on the table. Now, friends, you're probably seeing yourselves in all that I'm talking about because we have a little of all 9 types in us. So we can relate, and those give us compassionate interest. Okay, is this time when we take a 5-minute break, Karen?
Yes, it is. So it is 8:01. Let's come back at 8:06.
All right.
This meeting is being recorded.
We still got 3 people out. Well, let me just see if there's any other question, and then we're going to go into the wiring of the nervous system by type. Anything that we've gone over thus far that you want to expound on? So, understanding our Enneagram type helps us better realize our impact on other people. That's a big deal. Whether it's a group or an individual, knowing the preferences of my Enneagram type helps me understand my impact on others, okay? So let's talk about fight, flight, freeze for just a minute. And let me show you a slide. So these are communication styles, and it's also how we go about getting our needs met. And so for those of you who lead with 3, 7, and 8, to get your needs met, you assert, you will initiate, your voice will be heard. In meetings, you might take up too much room. These types are good in transition. They can think quickly on their feet. They make decisions pretty quickly. Then we have the collaborative or dutiful types, and that's 1, 2, and 6. So we don't have a 6, but we have 2 1s and a 2, and they ask questions. They ask good questions. They're concerned with best practice, what the impact of a decision is. And those 3 types tend to be real dutiful to their inner critic. They hear it a lot. And then you have types 4, 5, and 9. And they tend to step back. Whereas there's fight, 3, 7, 8, freeze, 1, 2, 6, and flight, or the withdrawing types. And they like to think about things, tend to be strategic thinkers and see things on a multidimensional level. And they may not have a lot to say in meetings. And so it's important to go to them in an hour or so, or the next day, and just ask what they're thinking. Friends, with your clients, with your patients and their families, this is really important information. You'll see it play out. You'll see people step back, or they'll continue asking questions, or they'll assert. They may, and so you may have people making decisions too quickly, and you may have people overthinking. So if you lead, depending on the type you lead with, I want you to name a gift of your style, and then name a way your style may be challenging for others and what a next step is for you. Okay, so that's, if you see the questions at the bottom, we're going to get in breakout for 5 minutes and just name a gift of your style and a way that your communication style is a challenge for other people, and what you might do to be more effective in your communication. All right. All right. So, I had breakout rooms down on my bar, Karen, but it's not there anymore. So if you have a breakout room, there are going to be 3, and we're going to assign. So it's going to be manual. And so we're going to have in the 378, we'll have Kelly and Stella and Monique and Melody.
Kelly and Stella and Monique and Melody.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we're going to have in another breakout room, Chelsea and Anne Marie and Mary.
Chelsea, Anne Marie, and Chelsea, Anne Marie, and
Mary.
Mary, got you.
And then we'll have the 3 9s, Sandy, Sue, and Marcia.
Sandy, Sue, and Marcia.
Yep. And Mark, if you want to join, that would be your group. But if you all can, we're going to be in there 5 minutes. Think about the questions I offered. Again, this is your lead communication style. This is what you do to get your needs met. Sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. Right? Okay, may your brief conversation be rich, okay? And we'll see you in 5.
I got it. I have to move them. So let's see. We'll do, okay, 2. Marsha's going to go to.
Everybody have the
3.
questions while Karen's doing that? We're good? Mary, unmute and ask.
Can you repeat? I have named the gift and then how it challenges others.
Yep, name the gift of your style, how it might challenge other people, and then what's the next step to be more effective in your communication. So I'll tell you, those of you, the 7s and 8s, just sitting back in your chair is going to give more space for others to show up. And for 4, 5, and 9, it might be leaning forward. 9s, lean forward, get engaged a little more. That can be helpful. Right? Okay. We're going counter our body's reptilian brain here. We're countering the nervous system wiring. That's a very big deal.
Well, I'm just having a good time trying to do this.
You got it, Karen.
I'm trying. It's you know what? We just might have to
we can abandon this if we want to.
I think I'm just gonna let them I'm gonna recreate it and I'm gonna just let them do it, assign automatically. So
but
we'll
that'll
just
be a different conversation, Karen.
Yeah.
So
what would you like to do?
We're gonna just move right along.
All right, cool.
All right. So let me just say this, friends, 1s, 2s, and 6s, 1s and 2s. Notice when you might be a little rigid in your thinking. Those 3 types can be rigid in their thinking. I know what's best. 1s, 2s, and 6. I know what's best here. Now that may not be fully conscious, but you can bet your sweet bippy it's in there somewhere. Okay. And then for 3, 7, and 8, again, lean back. These are the impatient types. Lean back, take time to process, get more curious about others' perspectives when you find yourself becoming impatient.
Can I share my experience, Sandra?
Yeah, please.
In one of my gifts, I've discovered that I'm very approachable. And in the business setting, it has been uncomfortable for others because staff tend to come to me as opposed to going to people that they should be going to. And, expressing their concerns. So to alter that, I've done similar to stepping. I'll just step back and kind of disappear, or I'll take a back seat, or I'll sit away from everybody, just physically remove myself. But it's interesting, that it's a challenge for others when they don't feel that comfort level.
Yeah. Well, 7s easily connect with people, Stella, and you tend to be pretty positive and upbeat. That's your ego ideal. And, and you think quickly and you know how to create options for people. You're not stuck here. So people will seek you out. 7s are approachable. They don't look like it because there's always something going on.
That's so
Slow it-
true.
Slow it down, sister, slow it down. And then 4, 5, and 9, you'll want to be as present as you can, and that will help you know what you think, helps you think more clearly. And even if to engage means to ask a simple question, do that. Yeah. Other comments or thoughts? Okay. I want to, let's do this. This is a big, I've given you 3 information-packed handouts, and I'd like you to bring this one forward. It's the handout with 4 columns. I call it the Cliff Notes of the Enneagram. And this first column is one of your big inner critic voices. You know, Chelsea and Anne-Marie will hear this kind of critical parent voice. Not good enough, do it better. Mary will hear, be a saint, don't be selfish. And Mary, you just kind of attested to that voice, right? Marcia and Sue and Sandy, their voice has them kind of shrinking themselves. Don't be too much. Don't make a big deal. That voice is not to be listened to. It will keep you small. Now, if we do listen to it, we will start doing column 2. That's a coping strategy to keep anxiety at bay. What we need to be doing or engaging and what goes unnurtured is column 3. 1's practice making mistakes, being silly, spontaneous. And 2's to state their own needs and focus on self. And for 7's to just go single focus with depth rather than integrating and synthesizing a lot of things and having a lot of breadth. And 8's, you know, your inner voice is saying, oh, just buck up, you know, be strong, be tough. And that's not where we need to go. It's really, can I show you my tender heart? Am I vulnerable enough to allow my heart to be touched by another? That's where we want to go. Okay, so the 4th column is a very big deal. The 4th column, if we believe that, and this is unconscious. So for 1, there's a belief, unconscious belief that I'm inherently wrong, and that's a false belief. But the more that's active, the more 1s will try to be good and get it right. This 4th column solidifies the ego ideal. And it's why it's hard for 1s to hear criticism or feedback. 1s become the mistake rather than simply a human who made a mistake. There's a separation with everyone but 1s. I'm Sandra, here's the mistake. But if I lead with type 1, it would be I'm Sandra and I am a mistake, right? And so the false core driver for type 2 is to be utterly useless. And Mary, as long as that's in play, you are going to grasp to help others. You're striving to help others, and that takes us down the wrong path. And for 7, you're very sensitive to being limited or confined. You want freedom. Don't fence me in. And you will see that even when it's not there. And so that feeds into your ego ideal. I'm upbeat and positive. Lots of possibilities here. And for 8, I'm powerless. It's not true, because power, we have the power to decide how to respond to something. And for 9, I'm insignificant and don't matter. Not true, not true. But it makes you really sensitive to being dismissed. You're looking for it. And for Mark as a 4, it's like I'm inadequate in some way or deficient. Not true about Mark. But we use that internally. That's nagging at us. And when we get reactive, and this is your trigger for reactivity. Every time you're reactive, you can trace it back to that one statement. Amazing. So to help us self-regulate, when I feel my reactivity coming up, I say, Sandra, you're not powerless. You can choose how you want to respond here. And I breathe and find my feet on the floor. People, this is a really big deal. These 4 columns are a big deal. So know that the 4th column is totally false. And you don't need to buy that. But the more you buy into that, the stronger your ego ideal is. Now, I'm going to stop sharing and just chat a minute. Does that make sense? Yeah. The 4th column scares us to death. The more we understand about these 9 egoic structures or Enneagram types, the more we realize the only appropriate response is compassion. As my grandmother used to say, we all got a hard row to hoe. And so how do we first offer ourselves that compassion? You're inherently good. You have inherent goodness, all of us. Type 1, hear that. Type 2, you are worthy. Always have been, always will be. It's in your own eyes. Worth doesn't come through the eyes of others. And for 4, you're not too much or not enough. You're just right, Mark. That's just the way it is. You are just right. That's right. And for type 7, you're not missing anything. 7s have a great fear of missing out. And so this sensitivity to being limited is tugging, but you won't miss out. The only way you miss out is trying to do more than you can, and you miss what's here. The more you do, the more you miss. Yep. And for type 8, presence is the greatest impact we can have. Presence. A grounded presence and an open heart. It's not in puffing up, it's in opening the heart. And the more often people we open our hearts, the stronger they become. And for type 9, you matter so much. Your kindness makes an incredible impact. And if any of you have ever gotten an email from a type 9, it's one of the clearest emails you'll ever get, because once 9s find time alone, they're really thorough thinkers and they send fabulous emails, very clear. And so claim yourself, claim yourselves. Don't buy into that 4th column, but please be aware of its presence in your infrastructure. And it will try to trick you into believing you're powerless if you're an 8, or you're wrong if you're a 1. It's not true. Don't buy into that illusion. Comments, questions right now?
It's pretty amazing how smack dab on the dot these things are.
Exactly what I was fixing to say. Just spot on.
Spot on.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yes, don't know me that well, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you see, the more you know, you're developing more inner awareness, and you can balance some of this. And so to grow, you would craft strategies that fly in the face of this type that wants to push you into being a saint, if I'm Mary, helping others, forgetting myself, right? It's not the way. It's not the way. And you all can help each other in column 3. And if you know people in your lives who know their type, then we can support other people with column 3. Yeah. We're not our type. But type is what shows up when you don't. When we're present, type recedes. And we see reality as it is, not through the knothole of a filter of our type. The more in stress we become, the smaller that filter is. And knowing what that filter is, and when I say filter, that's that first placement of attention on that first handout. You got that? Make sense? Mm-hmm. So the filter for the 9s is others' agenda. And the more in stress 9s become, the more you're looking for that. So notice when you're in stress and pull up and say, now I know I'm going to focus on everyone else's agenda, but what do I need and want? Right? That's huge. And right there is a game changer. I don't have, as an 8, you know, when I would do trainings with companies, I could go in and see how the room was set up and in an instant say, oh, we don't need the screen in front of the window and these chairs are too far back. I mean, I could see just what wasn't quite like it needed to be. And so knowing that's my first placement of attention, now I could go in and say, gosh, what comfortable chairs you have here. Look at all the great snacks. Yeah. Mark doesn't go in and just sees what's missing. He can see what's here that he's grateful for. Mm-hmm. What do you want to find tomorrow? What will you look for? Because what we scan for and seek, we will find. Energy follows your placement of attention. Always. Okay. Any other comment or question?
So Sandra, do you do work individually with people, and do you find you work with people in partnership or sisters, brothers, families, or how does that work?
Yeah, mainly individuals, somebody that really wants to deepen their understanding. Could I take another 7 minutes? Is that all right with you all? Let me just give you a snapshot of each type. I could do that pretty quickly. It might be helpful. It kind of sensing that you all are getting your own type, which is great. There's a real level of self-awareness in this group. But let's just go over each of the types quickly, okay? And so for type 9, there are 3 of you who lead with this type. It's an inclusive type. So they're seeking harmony and peace. And 9s are approachable, they're accepting, they're pretty non-judging, inclusive, have a lot of empathy, they're tolerant. They can see the validity in others' viewpoints. And that's a big deal in this time in our history, right? Now, they avoid conflict, avoid discomfort, but 9s write this down. I'm not kidding. Comfort is your poison. You will fall asleep to your life when you're too comfortable. So when you get home at the end of the day, 9s can overfunction at work, underfunction. You hit the sofa, totally numbed out. Wait another hour before you hit the sofa. Structures and specificity are what help 9s grow. Create structures and be specific. For our beloved 8s, we are protective of ourselves and those we love. We are direct in our communication, and we can be tone deaf. So it's really important, 8s, for us to soften and hear how we're coming across and just soften the voice. And we're dependable, fair, we have tender hearts, we're generous, and we can see the big picture and chunk it down. We have a lot of energy, and we offer our energy on behalf of others. And we're practical. So when we're not in control, or when a group doesn't feel like it's in control, we can get anxious. So just know that if you're not in control, anxiety will arise. Just let that anxiety arise. And practice later, Melody and Monique, because we want to do it now. We have a now problem. We're just going to take care of it and get it done. There's a deadly magic in that. Practice later, because patience, waiting, will always give us more options. And when we have more options, we do have more power. Waiting, there's power in the pause. 1s, it's about order and what is right and good. And perfection, there are just certain parts of life that each one is different in, but there are certain parts of life they want things just right. So 1s are thoughtful, responsible, highly diplomatic. They're really good, clear articulators, communicators, practical, strong organizing abilities. And they're avoiding making mistakes or being wrong. It's about rightness. And 1s have a real depth of caring. They can be real patient with people who are trying. And so that's going to be a gift for the 2 of you, Chelsea and Anne Maria. It'll be a gift, that patience when people are trying in this work. For the 3 7s, it's about adventure and future possibilities. What's fun, what's interesting. 7s can welcome change. They generate ideas easily. They're strong visionaries. They can be playful. And they help bring options to the table to help us unstick. They're naturally curious and striving for stimulation. So when there's not stimulation, anxiety is going to come up. Let it come up and just breathe through it. It won't stay. But we don't have to run away, whether you're an 8 or 7 or whoever. We don't have to run away from anxiety. It's okay, right? And so practice one thing at a time, 7s. 6s are loyal and collaborative and very prepared. We don't have any 6s, but you probably know 6s. They avoid uncertainty. However, they're the best in surprise, but they're the troubleshooters of the Enneagram. And 5s are about information. They're the most private type. They are detached. They're about hard data, and they seek to understand. They're good at connecting the dots, love to solve problems, okay? And they love predictability. Type 2, again, a positive type. 2, 7, and 9 are the positive types. This is about helping and connecting. They read others really well. And so they connect easily. They're enthusiastic. And they can see the potential in people and make appropriate suggestions. I always say put 2s on interview teams. They tend to read people quickly. And they're striving for affirmation and avoid being useless, as we all avoid that 4th column. And so the growth, Mary, is really, as we've said, watch when you're over engaging and just pull back. So I would really strongly recommend that you keep sitting back. Make sure your back is against the chair wherever you are. And that's a way of remembering you, okay? Practice self-care. And Mark is a 4. It's about meaning and depth. 4s have great aesthetic. They're emotionally intuitive, highly creative. They think outside the box. They're innovative. And they want to find meaning in their work. That's a big deal for type 4. They tend to avoid the ordinary. They strive to be different somehow. And one of the areas of growth, Mark, is to stay with fact over feeling. Yeah, and watch creating the story and taking something personally. Okay. All right. So just as a recap, given your Enneagram type, what's one shift you can make to be more effective in communicating? What's a strength of your placement of tension, and how does it hinder you? All right. And I know that Karen does takeaways. So I think I'm open to questions, or I'm open to your leadership, Karen. I think that's enough. I don't want to fire hose you all with all this information.
Fascinating.
So I have a bunch of announcements, but I'm thinking that we would change the order of things and ask them for their 2 takeaways for you so you can hear that. And then we'll end with our little announcements.
Okay, everybody, quickly. I'm going to start with Stella.
Oh my gosh. I mean, this has been really fascinating for someone that I've never met before. It's like you've told me about myself, but it gave me a lot to think about, in terms of how I can move forward and staying in the present.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've highlighted some of my, you say it's not behavior, but you've highlighted, some of the things that I do naturally.
Yeah. Feel your body in the chair, your feet on the floor, and breathe in the belly center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Marcia.
I'm speechless.
What did you learn about type 9?
Well, as Stella said, I mean, you pretty much hit everything right on the head. I have to absorb this for a while.
Of course, and you are a withdrawing type. You have to mull it over. Mm-hmm. And so for 9, it's one of the types that may not have a lot to say right now, right? Yeah. Okay. Susie.
I love the part about comfort is your poison.
Right.
I have fought that my whole life. Mm-hmm. But I don't always win. So now I'll be more determined to win.
Right. At 9s, please exercise.
Mm-hmm. You're not the first person who's.
It clears the fogginess in the brain. 9s have a fogginess that makes things unclear. And when you exercise and get breath in the chest, you get some clarity here. Okay.
So true. Very true.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. My 2 8 sisters, Monique and Melody, what say ye?
For me, this has been the timing of this class is impeccable. I am here at a conference with colleagues, and sometimes it's just the perception. Mm-hmm. And so who would have thought that the perception that people have of you is that when you're not present?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, why could, 30 years into my career, I'm learning this. And so it just lets me, and not that it's bad now. I mean, I don't have, haven't had bad experience or things, but people don't see the real me because I'm not present. And so now when my colleagues, when we're all together, we do have fun, but I'm going to really put forth an effort to be present. You know, I think I'm present with patients because I just love sick people or patients, people that need me as a clinician. But as far as colleagues and those that work alongside me, I'm probably there, maybe 20% of me or 30% of me.
Well, and when we're not in the clinic, we get bossy.
Yeah.
And as aides, you're going to protect the vulnerable, so you're probably good with patients, but all right, good luck in being present. Lean back. Lean back. All right, Melody.
I have a lot of mixed feelings with everything that you've given me. Mostly because I get accused of being too soft-hearted and not knowing how to say no. So I'm learning as I get older, it rolls out a lot better than it used to. I'm always have been a protector even as a child.
Okay. So any
and
takeaway you want to name?
I'm learning to be more for me.
Good. Good. Keep it up. Chelsea.
I have two big takeaways. I tried so hard not to be a perfectionist when I finished that. I've heard that my whole life. So I tried so hard not to be, but I just, the patience when people are trying, that I do with my own kids. That's one of those things that I have to, take a deep breath, and I know they're trying. And so I really do still need to work on that, especially with the patience. But then also just trying to be a little more silly, being willing to make mistakes. My children, we jokingly say I'm no fun mom, because it takes a lot to make me laugh. It's not that we don't do fun things, but I just don't open up like that. So I need to work on that.
All right, good luck. All right, Ann Maria, finishing up the ones.
I think what happened to me yesterday made me kind of like realize who I am. I've been out of work like almost a year and a half, and I went back to see my staff, and I could see the look on their face. Oh, you're coming back. Everything will be all right now. You're the one that leads here. You're the one that fixes everything. You're the one, that takes all the aggravation and stuff and leads. So I step back and I say to myself, oh, now I know how worthy I am. How they made me feel worthy after not realizing all the stuff that I had to do to get to that. But it was just nice. It was a nice feeling that this time I had to say, now you know my worth.
And that's a false worth, of course. Yeah, that's that ego ideal right there playing out.
Right.
Yeah. Well, blessings in the lightheartedness and the receiving.
Right.
Sandy, are you with us?
Yes. And it's I'm in a new job, and I thought it was going to suit me, and it does not. So part of it, today, then I was watching someone else, and for the first time in weeks and weeks and weeks, I read the H&P history, and I made a suggestion. And then when she called the patient with me listening in, she used it. Made my day. Because I was told, do not ask any questions because it interferes with your productivity.
Well, Sandy, what happened is you got seen. You really felt seen, didn't you? And heard.
Yeah, for the first time in weeks and weeks.
Yes. Now, let me just say this. Nines, you're going to see and feel that you're unseen and unheard more often than you actually are. So what I'm saying is you're seen and heard more than you realize. Okay. So I'm glad that you were able to hear her repeat you, Sandy.
Well, when 50 people are not saying anything, but they, as a group, or, I might talk to someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And about their concerns. Yeah, I still will say, okay, what if we get a homeless patient? What do we do with them?
Yeah, Sandy, I'm
And
gonna
today
stop
they
now.
did after 4 days they answered.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. We need to move on because I'm running out of
Okay.
time. I'm already into Karen's time here. So sorry.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Mary, Kelly.
For me,
Go
I
ahead.
wish I had this more than 30 years ago. This is Mary. For me, I wish I had this when I was a young wife and mother. That was my takeaway, and my self-care.
Well, you've got it now. Go for it. You got it now. Thank you. Kelly.
Always need stimulation. I feel like I never want to stop learning. And when I am in a place where I'm not stimulated, I do get anxious on the mundane task. And in meetings, I'm loud. My voice is loud anyway. And I can see how assertive I may come across. So I can sit back and be present more.
Good. Lean back. Yep. Great. Thank you. Karen, I don't know if you and Mark want to say anything, but I'm handing it back over now.
Mark, you go ahead, and then I'll end.
I'm always amazed when I listen to Sandra, and in my mind, it's like I want to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and get my driver's license with an Enneagram analysis to have a greater awareness, because I think it's all associated with the communication opportunities that I have. So thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Mark.
And I always learned, Sandra, that when I am in my fear place, my best thing to do is to be quiet and go into quietness. So thank you. I can't stop hearing you over and over and over again. So I'm grateful for the wisdom and the kindness with which you've delivered this, and more insight into who we really are. And our inner landscape work is so important so we can be present to our patients. So thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you all. I'm going to leave you now, but perhaps our paths will cross again.
Yeah,
thank you, Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Be good to yourselves.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So very powerful. Glad we all had this time together. Just a couple things. Next week is October 26th, and that means you all are off next week. Yay! 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 Hallelujah! Okay.
Not that I won't forget. I can't keep up these days.
I'll be enjoying my birthday. Yay!
Yay. So then so I will be in Spain. I leave Sunday to go to Spain to meet my husband is walking. Greg is walking the Portuguese. I'm blanking on it. I'm so into the Enneagram. Camino. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Camino.
Thank you. And I'm flying to Santiago for 5 days, and then we're going to fly to Barcelona for 5 days. So on November 2nd, I'm going to be in the air. So Mark is going to do the class on March 2nd. And Mark, would you like to give us a preview of what you're doing?
Absolutely. Each time I do these meetings, I recognize the diversity of technology skills, and technology has a productivity element in the business world that I will share some best practice tips that I've learned through Karen and others, and look forward to engaging that topic with our score mentor as well. He'll be doing the early part. I'll do the second part.
Yes, so we're going to learn, you all are going to learn a lot from the score mentor, and he'll be reviewing all kinds of score opportunities nationally too. So that would be November 2nd, and then November 9th is Wednesday, and we're going to have Michelle Trucks here, who's going to be talking choosing your business entity. So that would be, are you going to be a sole provider of your business, or are you going to create a limited liability company? So that's what I have. And we do that so we protect our business assets from our personal assets. And if somebody were to ever sue me, they sue my business assets, and I'm protected. So there's a lot about that. So then on the 16th of November, we're going to have a man come and talk to you. His name is Brad Schwartz. And he is an amazing man, an attorney who had a catastrophic illness and lost all of his limbs. And he has started a national website for patient advocates called gnanow.org. So he will come and talk to you about the formation of that and why it's a very helpful thing for you all to join that. And plus, his story is so compelling. So in summary, tonight, we really dived deeply into our inner landscape and what are all the parts and pieces of our inner landscape that affect us as we become patient advocates, and also to be aware of the inner landscape of all of our patients. So that is in a nutshell. Any questions before we give our hand signals? Any questions? Okay, so you know what time it is. It's love time. All right, well, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And
Have
you
a
all,
safe trip.
Be
thank
safe.
you.
Yes,
All
have a
right.
safe trip.
Okay.
Take some pictures to share.
I'll take
Yes.
pictures.
Yes.
Okay, bye you all.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.